Hey everyone, the debate between President Biden and former President Trump made a big splash in the news, and even now, it's still being talked about a lot. Most of the media attention is all focused on one thing, but I think that something happened about halfway through that ought to get a lot more attention. And today, I'm going to bring that out to the forefront, hopefully get the conversation started. You know, by the end of this next presidential term, Social Security will be within 3 to 5 years of insolvency. So I think that whoever is elected, they could be the one who's responsible for fixing the system. I do think that this election is very important for retirees, and this is something that I'm going to be covering here. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you should. Now, another thing is, this is not a political channel, and I don't ever intend for it to become one either. But down in the comments, I do hear from an equal number of viewers who are upset that I'm either a MAGA extremist or a flaming liberal. I suppose it depends on the filter you're using when you consume information. But I also get a fair number of comments from those who are thankful that I stay neutral and don't carry the flag for either side. And that's how I intend to keep it. If I see stupidity from either campaign, I'm going to talk about it. So while the debate is still a raw wound, especially for one candidate, my intention today is not to put salt in that wound and try to make it worse, but talk about what I see as a massive missed opportunity by both sides. Now, it may not surprise you that both sides have already taken snippets out of the footage of this debate and used it to make things seem worse than they really were. Now, down in the description, I'm going to link up the full CNN debate so you can go back and watch this with all the context, and we're not going to use fancy editing today to try to make somebody look bad. But I don't want to play the entire thing. I just don't think there's any need to do that for today's video. I just want to play the part where these candidates are asked about Social Security. Now, for those who follow along in the linked video, that starts at about 1 hour and 5 minutes, and I believe it goes for about 4 minutes. So let's jump right into this with a question from the moderator, Jack Taper.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So President Biden was asked for one specific step to keep Social Security solvent, and he said, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Then he wandered around a little bit and talked about how everyone earning under $170,000 pays 6%, but millionaires are paying 1%, and I don't really know what he was referring to there with the 1%, but he did say that he would increase it for those who earn more than $400,000 and said that it would guarantee the program for life. Now, this lines up with what he said before. What he's talking about here is increasing the maximum taxable wage base. Currently, 12.4% of your compensation up to a certain amount goes to fund Social Security. So if you're an employee being paid on a W-2, you pay half and your employer pays the other half. But that's only up to a limit. And in 2024, that limit is $168,000 and some change, and that generally increases every year in response to inflation. So anything that you earn over that amount, it's not subject to Social Security taxes. And that's the concept that has some people upset. There's lots of folks out there who think it's not fair. Some people have to pay tax on every dime they earn, but higher income earners stop paying these taxes once they pass the limit. So to them, it seems like an easy fix. Just raise or eliminate the Social Security tax limit, and thus the system would gain the large inflow of revenue needed to keep the system afloat. But what President Biden has proposed is that the current limit would stay in place, But if your earnings exceed $400,000, the Social Security portion of the payroll taxes would kick back in. The effect of this would be that with the bottom limit increasing, but that $400,000 mark remaining static, eventually those two lines would meet and all earnings be subject to the Social Security payroll tax. But here's the problem. This won't fix the system. The actuaries at the Social Security Administration have already looked at multiple versions of this approach, and the best case scenario is that it extends the date where the Social Security Trust Fund is dry from 2034 to 2044. It just lightly kicks the can down the road. And if you want to see that report, I'll put a link down in the description. But here's what I think is the biggest takeaway from President Biden's remarks.
So you still have 82 seconds left.
So we have the pending insolvency of the trust fund. By law, if nothing is done, Social Security benefits are going to be cut in 10 years or less. These are benefits that millions of Americans across all savings and income levels depend on retirement. There were 50 million people watching, and he was given 2 minutes to tell America what he was going to do, calm their fears. But after 39 seconds, he had nothing more to say. Now, after the moderator prompted him to fill in the rest of his time, he repeated that this one move would keep the system solvent, which we know now that it won't. And then he started ad-libbing about how Republicans want to cut Social Security, talking about the Affordable Care Act and education for black communities, but nothing else about fixing Social Security.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent, but the biggest thing will do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he, I believe, supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition.
And after that, it was Trump's turn. I wish I could say it got better.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face about so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
So he spent the first 34 seconds or so attacking Biden and calling him a liar. And then he implied that the problem with Social Security was that millions of people are pouring into our country and being put on Social Security. That was it. No suggestions for change, just the other guy's a liar and illegal immigrants are ruining everything, which I should point out, no matter how you feel about immigration, the simple truth is they are not the cause of the Social Security problem, nor are they making it worse. If anything, they're making it better. There are multiple reports, like the one from the Center for Immigration Studies, that say that immigrants improves the solvency of the trust funds. And that's because these workers are paying in taxes, in many cases with fake Social Security numbers. And under current law, they will never be able to receive one penny in benefits, despite having paid in the taxes. So Trump used his entire time devoted talking to the American people about Social Security, saying nothing. It was wasted, a squandered opportunity. So here's my message to both of the candidates. You got to do better than this. The next time you get a platform where 50 million people are watching, don't waste the opportunity. Vague promises and rhetoric. Social Security is a critical issue. It affects millions of Americans, and it deserves a serious, detailed plan. This isn't about scoring political points. It's about making sure that the current and future retirees have that financial security that needs to be there. We need clear, actionable solutions that address the root problems and not just sound bites that pander to your audience. Well, I hope I haven't made everyone mad now. I know I've picked on both parties, but there's a lot to think about here. Thanks for watching.